Hello, great people. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has taken a swipe at President Bola Tinubu. He has blasted the president. He said President Bola Tinubu should stop being arrogant and he should stop being egoistic as regards his stance on tax reform. You will recall that the Bola Tinubu presidency have put forward a bill before the National Assembly seeking to adjust the tax policy of the country in such a way that whatever you earn, whatever is earned in your state, it is a percentage of that you will get as tax. And this has not gone well with the northern governor. So on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omosholadeji, we'll be looking at the issues surrounding this tax reform, the agitation of the north, the logicality behind the statement of Bala Mohammed, and also the north-south tax exploitative relationship that has exists over the years in Nigeria, and how that was able to come by, and how Bola Tinubu is trying to change the narrative. We'll be talking about this and a whole lot more on this episode of Politics. Now, let me say something. Before I read to you the statement of Bala Mohammed, I must say that, you see, President Bola Tinubu is not my enemy. You see, people in government, we are just unfortunate that we have people that play their love you more than God approach. We have some unintelligent people at the highest level of government. That is why when they hear you speak about the president and they don't like what you are saying, they will not be able to wait for them to hear the one that you will say in favor of the president. So they are just playing the I love you more than God approach, because at the end of the day, who amongst them truly love the president in the true sense of love? What they love in the president is his power. And I've explained it in my past video that power is magnetic. Success is magnetic. When you are powerful, when you are successful, when you have money, it will attract people to you, both the good, the bad, the trustworthy ones, and the deceitful ones. Now, why did I lay this background? I totally support the tax reform of Bola Tinubu. And by the time you watch this video to the end, you would agree with me that Bola Tinubu is a man that, in my own opinion, he does more wrong than right. And if you look at what he has promised Nigerians, rather than give Nigerians renewed hope as promised, he has given Nigerians hopelessness. People that can eat before he became the president now can no longer eat. And for him to promise renewed hope, that means that he is aware that the government of Buhari has failed. That's why he's now promising renewed hope. But he himself has not given that renewed hope. Rather, Nigerians have been largely in a state of hopelessness. But you see, on this tax reform, Bola Tinubu is very, very right, because the North have been parasiting the South, and since 1960 that Nigeria has gained independence. If you look at the oil sector, which is Nigeria's mainstay, which means that the Nigeria's main source of revenue, the North have been parasiting the Niger Delta state and communities. On tax in Nigeria, the North have been parasiting states that are productive, states that are accommodative, and we'll get to that in a moment. But let me read you the statement of Bala Mohammed. Bala Mohammed says that we are calling on the presidency and the federal government to change their style. Whenever a policy is not popular, they should listen to the people. They should not be arrogant and think that whatever we bring must be. This is not an oligarchy. This is not a military rule. They must listen to the people, and that is what makes a good leader. It is not a good policy for northern Nigeria, because we are not going to get money to pay you salaries, to do roads. They must listen, otherwise they are calling for anarchy. First, you see, what Bala Mohammed said here, if you look at it, he says whenever a policy is not popular, who told Bala Mohammed that it is not popular? That the tax reform bill of Bola Tinubu is not popular. Then, is Bala Mohammed comfortable with the North continuing to exploit other regions of Nigeria? Is he comfortable with that? You have been exploiting Nigeria since 1960. The North has ruled for over 30 years. They have governed Nigeria more than when the South has been in power. Despite ruling Nigeria for over 30 years, you will see that there's still no change in the North. They are just suffering their populace. The political ruling elite of the North can be like a kind of a terrible set of people in the sense of letting the resources trickle down to the people. Those in the South, the difference between them is just like maybe the difference between six and a half a dozen. But then in Nigeria, the belief is that when you are in power, you can bring change to your community. You can bring about development. But the truth is, you have had this power for over 30 years, which means that you have been in control in Nigeria. You have been in control of the oil resources. You have been sharing it. You have also been in control of the tax in Nigeria, the ways that Nigeria have been earning. Yet, there's no change in the North. The region where poverty is most entrenched is the region that has ruled Nigeria the most, which is the northern part. So is that not a shame on the northern ruling elite that in the true sense of it, they have not been able to deliver to their people? So governance is a serious business. But in Nigeria, we have lazy governors that are comfortable with the exploitation system that have existed for years. The military took over power. Most of these military guys are northerners. So they by decree begin to bring about these policies that favors the North. And that policy had existed for long. Don't they know that there will be a time that this policy will change and the South will want to take what rightfully belongs to them? So on this tax issue, Bola Tinubu is right. You cannot be enjoying oil money without producing oil, while the people of the Niger Delta are suffering. See, in the history of Nigeria, the northern region has enjoyed a larger percentage of the oil money more than the people that have the oil itself. Let us remove the 13% derivation formula. In fact, the derivation formula, I did a scientific research about this topic some years ago. I think the derivation formula was at 30 or 40 something percent before, and they were now reducing it, military government by military government. And I must say that Obasanjo too reduced that derivation percentage till they cut it to 13%. What is derivation formula? It means that we are how do I explain it in a simple way? We are exploiting oil in your community. In the process of extracting the oil, you would have been going through some inconveniences. So those inconveniences, take 13% of the money that is earned from the oil. It will specifically go to you to like a compensation for the inconvenience that you have been going through. But then the Niger Delta leadership, and that's why I said the difference between the leadership of the North and the South is not the difference between 6.5 because that 13% derivation formula has not even shown in the Niger Delta communities. The governors of this Niger Delta state, successive governors, we don't know what they are using the money for, because if you take a visit to these oil producing communities, you will see poverty lying side by side with stupendous wealth. Oil is stupendous wealth, very stupendous wealth. But then the people that have the oil, they are poor, they are wretched, they are living in abject poverty, and they are languishing in anguish. So the North have gotten a larger percentage of oil money aside from the derivation formula than the South itself, because in Nigeria, resources is largely shared by population and land mass, and the North that have the resources is now in the majority. Now, would you prefer that a situation as it happened in the military, that when a military man is in power, he will be allocating oil wells to people of northern extraction, and they will be extracting oil and making money, while the people of the Niger Delta, because they don't have the population, they don't have what it takes to be in power, their population in the military is not much, their population to produce a democratic president is not visible. Jonathan was an accidental president. So you will now be exploiting them, allocating oil wells to your friends, And these people are living in abject penury. Should that continue? No. You see, democracy, unfortunately, one of the disadvantages of democracy that you may not even find in the textbook that I've been able to identify is democracy robs the minority, especially those who own natural resources, because this minority, they are the ones that own the natural resources, but they cannot effect a change in government through a legitimate means of voting. So when you are now in power, you now be using that power to rob them of their resources. And that is not how it's supposed to be. Now, another thing is that, you see, autocracy too is also a problem, which is the military rule. That one is even worse. They'll just rule by decree. So that brings us to the fact that there is a need for research by political scientists, archaeologists, sociologists to now research for to find a system of government that will favor minority groups in a country that has natural resources, and that natural resources is located in the backyard of those minority groups, so that they won't be cheated, because democracy cheats them. Autocracy, the military rule, also cheats them. Now, I've spoken a lot on this, but let me just touch on it. The tax on alcohol. The North cannot allow people to drink alcohol. You see Kano, which is the Kano is struggling population with Lagos. We don't know which one is the most populous. They are struggling among themselves. You know, there's this debate. But I served in Kano State, and I can tell you for free that Kano does not have the population of Lagos. I can tell you that for free, because I did my NYC in Kano State several years ago. But this tax issue, there's Isba police in Kano. You are destroying alcohol. But as you are destroying alcohol, Lagos State is allowing people to drink alcohol and is living with the consequence. And you are collecting money from that sales of alcohol. The Lagos State government, when people drink alcohol in Lagos State, Rivers State, Akwa Ibom, all these places, the tax on those alcohol will go to the federal government. They will share the money at the end of the month. Part of that tax alcohol money, they will give it to you, that you claim that you are ruling by Sharia, all these Islamic police and all these things. Yet you will receive that money. What level of hypocrisy, what nonsense, in the true sense of it. That is the height of hypocrisy, that you cannot consume alcohol, but alcohol tax is good for you. That has to stop, in the true sense of it. So the exploitation of oil-producing communities as regards, or the not exploitation of the South, particularly the Niger Delta, needs to stop. And also, the not exploitation of the South as regards tax, especially on goods that are not tolerated in the North, for instance, alcohol, needs to stop. And that's why I said I totally support Bola Tinubu on this tax reform policy. And I believe that any meaningful Nigerian, any Nigerian with integrity, even if you are a Northerner, and you believe that cheating other people is bad, then you should be in support of this, of the bill of Tinubu, because for one thing, it will increase productivity and it will bring about good governors that can think of how to earn money and govern their people based on what they earn. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politics with Dr. Deji, a political scientist. Do well to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course, I have great, interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.